Hello. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about Japanese and how much of it you need to know before coming here. So I know there's a lot of new ALTs coming because it's, almost March right now, and the school year ends March 22nd-ish. So there's a ton of ALTs that are probably looking at, oh my god, what do I do? What do I prepare for? Last minute people. You know, like me back in the day. But one of the things regarding the language that I found most important to me, this might be different for everybody else, but conjugation is kind of a big thing for me, because I find that just by knowing how verbs are conjugated and picking up on keywords in a sentence, you can kind of figure out what people are trying to say, or you would otherwise not have any idea. Luckily for me, conjugation was one of my specialties going through school. Like, I just picked it up, no problem. So maybe that's why I rely on it so much now, because it's easy for me. But I studied Japanese in college for 2 years. Took 4 years in high school, which doesn't really count because you cover all that in probably the first semester in college. But so I have a pretty good basic understanding of the language, how it works, verbs, particle, subject, all that stuff. So I don't know nothing, but I didn't realize how little I did know until I came here. They just speak so fast, just like any other language. Everybody here's a native speaker, so get used to saying, "Moichido ite kudasaimasen." Yeah, but at your school, the teachers will know your Japanese level, and they should adjust their speaking speed to match, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But when you go out to eat, when you go anywhere, they're going to be, boom, 100 miles an hour. Or I guess I should say 100 kilometers an hour, speaking that fast all the time. And the kids, they're not going to realize, oh yeah, this guy isn't from here, so maybe I should speak slower. Like, that doesn't occur to them, especially the first years. I have to ask them like 4 times. These are first graders, and they talk so fast. I'd say that's about where my level is. My reading and writing skills are about on the level of a second year, I'd say, second grader. And listening comprehension is a little bit higher, but I can't speak very well. I can't produce very well without any context or anything like that. It's hard. But a small example of how conjugation and keywords helped me was the other day I was in the shokuin shitsu, which is the staff room, and there was one other person in there, administrator at the school, but it was just us two, and he had to leave for some reason. He had to go do something like that. So as he left, he said something to me in Japanese, and I caught 2 major parts. And with those 2 major parts, I was able to figure out what he meant when he said it. So the first thing that I caught was denwa ni. I was like, okay, denwa, phone, denwa ni. So something about the phone. This is kind of important because I'm the only person here, so if the phone rings, who's going to answer it? And so the second part was something nai demo ii. And it was basically, it's okay if you don't something. So the 2 parts I got was phone and it's okay if you don't. So with those 2 things, you can kind of piece together what he was saying. And plus the context of the situation, like his job, what he does all day, he answers the phone. People call, he answers, directs phone calls. He's kind of like a secretary, you could say. But he does a lot of things the secretary wouldn't do. I was playing this all back in my head. This is all happening within, seconds. So that's what I mean is with the context, his job, what he does, and the fact that he was leaving and I was the only person there, and he said phone and it's okay if you don't, I basically pieced together that it's okay if you don't answer the phone, if it rings. And when he came back, I asked him to confirm that's what he said, and that's what he said. So, like I was saying, you don't have to be fluent or a native speaker to understand what somebody means. And it's kind of the same thing when eating out or shopping. Eventually, after probably a few weeks, you'll realize that most of the shopkeepers or clerks, whatever you want to call them, there's almost like a ritual that they say when you're checking out. You know, are you going to eat here to go? You know, things like that. And after a while, especially if you frequent the same place often, you'll just know what it means. And then when you go to new places and they say the same thing, it's just kind of like repetition beaten into you. But it is kind of tough because in Japan, customer service is top notch. So when they speak, they're not speaking normal Japanese, spoken Japanese. They're speaking formally to you. So it throws everything off, and then blah, blah, blah. So eventually, I just kind of memorized the timing, I guess. And again, the situation. Like if you're at Mossburger, they're probably going to ask you, you know, for here to go. Is that all? Do you want that in a set? Do you want that not in a set? Do you want that by itself, basically? There's a certain number of possible things that the store clerk could be asking you in that given situation. So with that, you can kind of figure out what they mean. Plus, fun fact, ATMs have English. At least the JP Post Bank ATMs have an English option, so you don't need to worry about that. And all of the train stations, the ticket vending machines, they all have English options. So it's pretty easy. Most of the trains are bilingual. As in, they'll say something in Japanese, then they'll follow it up with English. At least in and around the Tokyo area. I don't know how it is out in the boonies. But, yeah. Most of the maps in the train stations are... everything's in kanji, and then there'll probably be another map where everything's in romaji. So you should be okay, as long as you kind of know where you're going. Ah yes, ran a half marathon with a bunch of the ALTs in the area. Super fun. Two things though, if you're going to run a half marathon, two recommendations would be, one, wear running shoes, and two, don't start in the back. Don't be dumb like I was. Because one, running shoes is kind of important. I have like indoor soccer shoes that I was wearing. My feet were just torn up by the time I was done. The last couple miles were just, oh God. So, buy running shoes. Be smart. Second thing, don't start in the back. This is my first time running a half marathon. Obviously, I don't know how to do it. It's my first time. I didn't look it up beforehand. It takes a lot of energy to pass people. A lot more than I expected. A couple of us were thinking, oh, we'll just start in the back and it'll feel all good passing people. Like, no, it doesn't. Because you know how much energy it takes? Like, you're running, and then you have to slow down, and then you have to speed up to pass them, you have to slow down, you have to speed up to pass them, you have to zig and zag. It's a complete waste of energy. And you have 13 miles, which is not a short distance to run. So you can't afford to be wasting energy running more than you need to, basically. So yeah, I've never run in a group before like this. I've done a 5K, but that was a little bit different. Yeah, it's hard running with 4,000 other people. I didn't know. Now I do. But the main reason we did the marathon is because it's just one of those things that's really fun to do, because it's with other English-speaking people. And sometimes it can be hard to find, you know, English-speaking people if you don't have ALT friends. But we're super lucky in the city.